At first, it was one of those rumors on the internet, but it was soon proved that Corey Harrison was also, since Big Hose was caught by the Metro Police very early in the morning at the time. This was shocking news for fans of the well-known Pawn Stars host, now having thought about it for years, guessing what might have happened. That fans are getting an early Friday morning an honest account of what really happened. Stay with us as we search for the truth about the big horse is finally seen. Even though it's not true, what behind you might want to hear. His rise to fame is a complicated story. Personal problems and mistakes that have caused a major court case that threats to hurt his reputation. Before Cy Harrison was known to millions of people through the History Channel's hit show Pawn Stars as the bigger than L is the life heir to the gold and silver pawn shop empire. He was just the kid, a store owner who was having a hard time. Corey Harrison is trying to get his big break. Was born on April 27, 1983, as one of Rick and Kim Harrison. Have 3 sons. Richard Benjamin Harrison is his grandfather. Rick and Richard were the people who owned the gold and silver pawn together shop. Rick had quit school at 13 years old to help his father in the shop where Corey's story ends. Thought about for most of his childhood, his education and the specifics of Corey's. There are no records of formal schooling, but it is, and it's possible that he didn't metricate either. The gold and silver pawn shop, run by the family, set up in Las Vegas, Nevada, soon became a well-known store. The store became well-known Pawn Stars, a reality TV show where Corey also shows up as a main character cast member. Thanks to the show, the gold and silver pawn shop became very popular. Tourists come from all over to see this place. People from all over the world came to see the place. Their favorite moments from reality TV. It did. The store was no longer just a well-known spot to buy and sell at. Important building in the busy, fun-filled city of Sin City. And Corey was one of the main Pawn Stars faces people came to see. It was first shown in 2009 and is based on a Las Vegas pawn shop that is run by a family where all sorts of strange and interesting things to sell or trade. The show wasn't just about the things but also shared the interesting stories behind them. It became a lot of people from all over in the real world. Corey worked at the pawn shop since he was a child as the son of Rick Harrison and grandson of fans call Richard Harrison the old man. Corey was born into the everyone could see that it was a family business. Who saw the show he was in? Taught how to run the store on his own one day. In the end, he was in charge of the shop, did every day, and was known for getting more things than anyone else. He was working there with his dad Rick, his grandfather Richard, and longtime friend Chumley. The store liked having its own personality. The 4 of them don't get along. Men of different ages took important part in the shows. A lot of people liked Rick because of his sharp. Corey was seen as having good business skills, smart and driven, and Chumley often added humor with his love of having fun personality. Corey became well known very right away. His friendly personality and a deep understanding of the business lead to a fan favorite, and a lot of people saw he was a big reason why the show did well. In a city known for its big and flashy style, people loved seeing the weird, some interesting things that came into the shop, and many of the things there were strange and really weird. Fans were always looking forward to hearing what the cast had to say about everything, and most importantly how much it could be worth it while the show was on. Entertaining for the people who saw it, for the cast and everyone who works there. This was how running the shop really was, something they did for a living, done for years before there were cameras. Came to show that Corey wasn't just for a TV show where he had worked the store since he was 9 years old, and he knew for sure and had experience that showed up on the screen. As the show turned out better, the pressure also grew. The stars had to keep up with the parts and people who play them. People had grown to love Corey. That meant keeping his real life in, tasks to do at the shop with the getting excited about being on TV. Had both fun and hard parts, but it all began with a simple family. If you have a business in the middle of Las Vegas, there was a tough person on the show. Day at work, like most people do. There wasn't always a chance to take a break or show. There were cameras there, but most people I know it's almost impossible to always, for a while, act like everything is fine. Ideal picture of the family business beginning to show signs of trouble. These cracks were the start of the trouble and scandals that would later. People who helped tell the show's story, who ran the shop, didn't think the show would come to become so popular. All of a sudden they were how well known the show was. It became their new job. More than just running the store, the cast members over 50, like Rick and his fans call his dad, the old man. Still really cared about the company, liked it, but the younger stars, mostly Corey, were caught up in the thrills and attention that came with being on TV, and getting wrapped up being in the spotlight was always going to even more likely, since it was almost some cast members couldn't even. You wouldn't believe how famous and praise that came from the show. Corey, with his rising fame came new chances outside of the shop. He'd been on other shows and took part in promotions and became well known for personality that is bigger than life, resonated with fans all over the world. What Corey quickly learned was that being well-known meant that people were always, he couldn't just blend in while they watched. No longer. Where the show used to be, it was loved for taking an honest and straightforward look at the pawn shop business. More people were becoming interested in what took place behind the scenes while the cameras were. Many of these people were interested in Corey's life, turned into a mix of achievements and major problems. The fame wasn't the only thing the Harrison family had. They were born with a lot of nosy neighbors too, so as not to take away from Corey. Worked hard even after he became. Corey's true love was still the pawn shop, and it was clear he was. Corey does great work and is very good at his job. The way he ran the shop showed his work ethic. Even with all the stress and attention from being famous, he kept his mind on what was important, was keeping the shop honest and respected. A lot of people came just to look around, but Corey was always sharp, willing to make a deal. His gift for make smart trades for valuable things showed how much he loved and having an idea of the pawn business. Because of this, he earned real respect from collectors, of fans and people in the same. Famous people, but being famous has its bad things that happened. As Corey became more famous, more people began to pay attention to everything he did in his personal life. People watched the shop from inside and outside and judged by the public, but many he was looked up to for how well he did. Many people were quick to point out his making mistakes while trying to meet expectations of fans around the world, while also it was hard to run the family business. Task that Corey was thrown into the attention at a very young age, and now the show had become something huge, with viewers from all over the world globe. As Corey got better known for it, also got harder for him to stay away from every mistake he made. Was quickly when it became news, people started to ask as to whether Corey was breaking the trouble, for Corey didn't begin on where they started, on Pawn Stars. There were courts and police stations. At the time went on, he started getting in trouble with the law to make his public image look bad. One in California, a famous event took place where Corey got into a fight in a bar, was charged with battery and not in touch with the police right now. It shocked a lot of fans because it showed a very another side of the happy big horse they had grown to love. Fans they came to find out who this person was to love. Was it all a show? Was he the loving, polite, smart, and devoted someone who helped the family run business on TV, or was he the one getting in trouble in bars? If it had been just one mistake, his fans might have been able to help him. Things kept going wrong. In another case, Corey was blamed for giving back. The owner of the damaged rental RV complained about the state it was left in, saying it did a lot of damage inside. It made Corey look even worse. Then came a drunk driver was arrested in Las Vegas, all because of these events. It looked like Corey was finding it hard to deal with the stress of fans. Saw a famous man on TV who, not the same as the one making news stories about him, were now shown as careless and reckless, and someone who he makes many bad choices when he's drunk. Fans, this new Corey was tough to take. To believe. Some still backed him, but some people thought he was hurting the good name of the Harrison family. What he did were not only a problem for the show, turned into a big problem for the family business too. Even though Corey didn't end people in jail, started to wonder if he seemed to think it was only a matter of time before be on a dangerous path. But it wasn't. Not only was his freedom in danger, but so was a job at the pawn shop with his dad Rick, without a doubt getting tired of being there for him, because it was clear bringing shame on the Harrison family. It wasn't just Corey who was having trouble. They had an effect on the whole Harrison family. People were paying close attention, and the shop's reputation started to get worse when fans of the show were still there, but there was a clear tension between doing what's good in picture and facing the truth about its stars. Corey's behavior turned into a big deal. People who didn't like him said he had let still, Harrison style, fans down. The family didn't say anything. They didn't instead talk about the issues in public. They chose to keep things quiet. So they could protect what was left of the name of the family. Behind the scenes there was controversy and family problems taking place behind the doors of the Corey's. Problems at the well-known pawn shop went beyond his personal life. There was also more trouble in the Harrison family. A court case between Rick, Corey's dad, and Rick's mom Joanne brought the family's money trouble getting into the public eye. Joanne said she had to sign away her pawn shop share, and she filed a lawsuit that showed a profound family fight that was hard to putting these problems off. Also made people. If you were to guess what would happen to Corey soon, he stays away because of scandals and fights from his family's business. Corey has talked about how fame has changed in his life. He has said that the stress is too much to handle now. Some fans started to think that Corey might one day leave it all behind, not because of getting in trouble with the law, but because fame had too much of a sudden. The idea of it felt more serious for Corey to say goodbye. It wasn't just if he would be caught or punished, it was about if he would decide to leave. To get away from the attention for his own safety. It was clear how hard things were for the family, both on the show and off. Every time Corey got into trouble, it looked like the family was falling apart. It felt like they were farther apart at times. Like what the gold and silver left behind the pawn shop was barely held together. And what Corey did were at the heart of fans. Kept up with all of these problems, was not sure if Corey was really at the end on the road, and if he had any legal problems, or he did what he did because of personal choices. Pawn Stars gave up his spot in the It didn't look like a family business anymore. Bound to happen. And fans who had been following his been on the journey for so long were left wondering what was going to happen next to Corey. Though when he thought he might lose everything came after two very sad, the death of his grandfather and the terrible death of his brother too. And too much of these things made Corey stop and really think about his life and how his decisions were having an effect on the people he most about. These losses were heavy and brought a new kind of being aware that Corey hadn't felt before. He talked a lot about his fans call his grandfather, the old man, who was the soul and heart of both. That he was lost to his family and the pawn shop. A strong reminder of what family, honesty, and hard work were important. These were the traits that made the Corey opened a gold and silver pawn shop. To see that he had been straying, getting away from those values, he started to ask himself if he was really living in a that paid tribute to his grandfather. Corey looked for a job after his brother died. More deeply inside himself, this loss didn't just hurt Corey, it also a lot of trouble for his dad Rick. Now lost a second son, and the future of less money was now supporting the family shoulders. Corey almost lost his life in a motorcycle crash while on his way to get supplies. For Corey had to jump off his bike going 40 miles per hour to avoid a potentially terrible crash. The bike spun because of a sudden move out of hand and fall apart. Despite how bad the accident was, Corey didn't instead go to the hospital right away. He later went back to his party and looked for getting medical help for a serious injury to his hand that needed surgery, which involves putting in 8 screws. Corey thought about what happened, and he thought he was very lucky to be alive after such a close call. Besides that almost fatal accident, Corey's health too had been a major cause for worry for many years. The Harrison family, though, the journey hasn't been easy at all. Play a part in many of his problems, from being pulled over for driving under the cause people to get into fights after making bad decisions. It had reached a level where his doctor had to step in. Corey's health problems also had to do with how he saw himself. Been known as the big guy on pawn for a long time. Stars and big hose at his biggest weighed 400 pounds. So his doctor had to set him up for preventive diabetes, taking medicine. The risk of developing diabetes woke Corey, and he had to rethink his way of life because of it. As he drove home from work one day, doctor's office, feeling a little down, he went by a clinic that did lap-eye headband surgery and chose to take right away. He told Good Morning America, "I'm really driving home from the office of the doctor. Got a little scared about it, and I can see where they surgery on lap bands, and I just pulled. What does it take to have the surgery? I didn't have much cash. I took out 4 credits at the time. Put the cards on that, and you're done. go even though they didn't have much money. At the Corey used 4 credit cards to pay for the surgery, marking as a big change starts to happen in his life. This brave choice to getting better health opened the door to a new part of both his personal and the surgery was a big step in my professional life. His success and his amazing change was shocking, and this made him even more determined to doing everything they can to make sure how well his weight loss plan worked. He pledged to get regular checkups for his band and took on a drastically new way of life he started living. He made choices about his diet and changing their drinking habits to be healthier drinks and foods instead of junk food. At one point, he said, "I can only eat a little something now. I promise that it's good stuff. And not junk." Became an important part of his daily life. The fans thought the change was so great, told him to do his best. His friend Chumley was moved by progress to start his own plan to lose weight too. Chumley and Corey have both had their having trouble with fame and have been called out by the public, but their strong friendship has helped them choose to live through hard times. And Corey has not only lived healthier lives, made his own future better, but he has also made his friend want to start his own way to get healthier. This close fans loved a lot because the show is well known. Having personal problems is harder, but the things Corey did show that he really wants to keep the future of the show and the family business. His strength is also shown by his health journey. Fans are hopeful that he is finally, if he can get going in the right direction, keep going in this healthy direction. Many fans are sure that he will keep going. His great journey has left behind the shop been one of lack of fame and loss, but one thing is for sure, the big horse is not the type to give up when things get tough. Even with the scandal and personal, fans of the struggle are fully behind Corey on his way back to God.